How's it going, everyone? Chad from Wonder Spark Puppets, and today I'm going to teach you how to cheat death in a puppet show. So, if you don't know the idea of what we call a dead puppet, puppetry is actually one of the great performing arts where you can actually have something literally die on stage, right? If you see an actor on stage, if you're an audience member and you see an actor die on stage as part of the story, in the back of your brain, you're thinking, all right, this actor is actually just pretending. After the show, they're gonna go eat dinner and go home and like do the same show the next day. With a puppet, you could actually kill something, and I will show you first how to do that, and then we'll talk about how that relates to hand puppetry. So here is a puppet, right? And you're wondering why I had this thing here. Here's a puppet, and while I'm connected to this puppet, while I'm touching this puppet, right? My energy, my soul, whatever you want, my intention is going from my brain in through my arm into the puppet right here. So I have a connection with this puppet. It does what I want, right? And as long as I'm touching this puppet, if I'm holding it, right, I can make it move and breathe and all the kinds of things that maintain the illusion that this is alive. Now, if I don't touch the puppet, if I'm not touching the puppet at all, it cannot move. It can't breathe. It can't do anything. This is what we call a dead puppet. And when there is a puppet on stage, visible to the audience, that nobody is touching, nobody is manipulating in any way, all right, even if the audience doesn't understand the philosophy about puppetry and anything, it looks bad. It looks bad. This character that was once alive, right, is just sitting there with its eyes open, like a corpse, waiting or something. It looks bad. So we call this a dead puppet because literally it can't move, it can't do anything because its soul has left its body, right? Only when I reestablish my connection to this puppet, whoop, can it then move, right? There you go, just had an out-of-body experience. Thank you very much, puppet. There you go. There you go. Oh, it likes being pet. Okay, very good. Whee! So, how does this relate? Oh, there we go. How does this relate to hand puppetry, right? If you do tabletop puppetry, there's a better chance that you're going to have a dead puppet because maybe you're doing a solo show and you're like, oh, there's 3 characters, I only have 2 hands, what am I going to do? And if you're doing hand puppetry, right, like back here in this booth, if a puppet pops up, right here, your hand's going to be inside of it. Right? So unless you're doing one of Mr. Punch's many famous bits where he brings puppets and kind of dumps them onto stage, if a puppet comes up in a hand puppet show, there's going to be a hand inside of it. So how do we, so let's talk about what constitutes dead puppetry in a hand puppet show. Okay, so let's say I have my puppet up right here. There's no chance it could be dead because the connection between my brain and this puppetry is here, right? Or this puppet, excuse me. And no matter what I do, it's going to move no matter what. However, during a show, while you have a character visible to the audience, what if you're like, oh my goodness, I need a prop. I need a telephone because there's a scene coming up where this puppet has to make a phone call. Where is it? And if you're back here in the booth, you look for it. Look, I'm looking around. Where is it? When you're not looking at your puppets, this is going to happen. It's going to droop, like this, or it's going to do one of these, or it could be doing anything because when you're not looking at your puppet, anything could be happening. So this is kind of what we call a dead puppet. In hand puppetry, it's where your focus and your intention have left this puppet behind. You're looking elsewhere. Maybe you tripped on something. Maybe you're grabbing another puppet down there. And all the audience can see is this puppet that now looks like, or is like weirdly moving around as you search for something downstage. So how can we prevent that? There's 3 simple things we can do to prevent that awkward leaning phase while the puppeteer looks for something or does something else. All right. Number 1, okay, the first thing we need to do to prevent this, or because you need to look down and grab stuff occasionally, is this. We need to do neutral actions and not just stay in like a neutral position like we talked about. You need to have some backup neutral actions in your back pocket for this very moment. So if I'm looking down, I'm going to make sure that my puppet is vertical, right? Make sure that you can stand straight no matter what. So I would encourage you to exercise this. Keep your puppet straight up like this with a straight spine while you look around and do other things with your head. Okay, if you can maintain that, it's great. All right, number 2 is I like to walk around with my puppet. If a puppet is visible to the audience and I have to look for something else, this puppet's going to move, and that can mask this awkward thing that happens. Because if the puppet is kind of walking from left to right or looking or doing some basic motions while you look for something else, it's going to look better than if the puppet is just standing looking out at the audience frozen. Does that make sense? So find some neutral motions. I like to walk a little bit, right, looking around, anything to disguise the fact that the puppeteer is grabbing something or figuring something else out. That's number 1, right? Number 2 is anything can happen in a puppet show. Anything at all. There's no rules, 0 rules. So if something goes wrong or if you have to go find something or it's taking too long, okay, because you can't just do those neutral actions forever while you figure out a problem. So number 2 is just take the puppet out. It seems so simple, but give yourself a permission slip to be like, well, there's something happening. Goodbye. Just get that puppet out of there. You can even acknowledge to the audience, to a certain extent, that this puppet needs to leave. Like, for instance, once upon a time, I have a cake prop that needs to come up on stage, right? I have 2 puppets, right? The cake prop fell from where it was supposed to be, right here under the playboard, onto the floor. I can't reach with one arm down to the floor. That's not going to happen. Both of these characters need to leave the scene so I can bend down and grab it and then pick it back up. So what you do is acknowledge, say like, oh, can you help me with something? Yes, I can. Let's go together. Whee! If you're going to acknowledge that there's a problem or an issue, only acknowledge once, never twice. Only acknowledge once, and it's okay for whatever reason to exit the audience's field of view. That's totally fine. Okay, it's part of the art form, especially in hand puppetry, because everything feels a little miniaturized and silly, that things are going to happen that are not normal or not within the normal bounds of theater. Okay, so those are 2 different things. Number 3 is muscle memory. Okay, muscle memory will keep you afloat no matter what. If you've done a scene 1,000,000 times, your body, your hand will know exactly what to do. Okay? And a lot of puppeteers, they say that you work on one show for 30 years, and it's true. A lot of puppeteers do this where they start out with one show and you develop it and keep working on it and like keep getting it better and better and better your entire career, right? Because you already have everything built for it. And people book it, right? So develop your muscle memory for the show. The more times you do a performance or emotion, the better it's going to feel, and the more your hand or your brain will remember exactly what to do while you are busy somewhere else. But at all times, please, to be a good puppeteer, you must look at your puppets, okay, in order to know exactly what it's doing. If not, use one of those 3 techniques. All right, I hope that helped, guys. I hope you learned a little bit about dead puppetry, why you should never do it, why if you're a puppeteer, never take your hands off your puppet unless you intend for it to be dead. Okay, that means no life. All right, you can cheat. Maybe you can make some snoring sounds or acknowledge it in some way, but try to never have a dead puppet in your show, guys. All right, thank you once again. My name is Chad from Wonderspark Puppets, and we'll see you next time.